lots of words in the start here. WhatsApp for Qlik SaaS. So I'm a little bit different to some of the people in this room. Like I have a bit of a data and analytics background, not so much data storage. So for me, this angle is slightly different. And one of the tools that I work with is Qlik, who is a pretty well-known BI vendor that works with data, both structured and unstructured data. And one of the big topics that we've been talking about today is RAG, LLMs, conversational analytics. And part of that is what I've been doing a lot of work in recently. So I'd like to sort of share a little bit of that work that I've done with the room. And just a little bit of background. I'm going to talk about why WhatsApp specifically in a second. But Qlik, obviously, a business intelligence platform, has a lot of integrations with a lot of tools out there that we know about, like Slack and Teams and all of these conversational analytics providers. But WhatsApp is missing. And I'm going to explain why it's missing as we move through. But a little bit of context there to start with. So just a very, very brief about me. My name's Brian Booden. I'm Managing Director of Data Glue IT, who are a Qlik partner based out in Edinburgh and Scotland. Yes, I have come a long way to be here, so I appreciate it a lot. I've been involved with Qlik for the back end of sort of 15 years, and I've been lucky enough to be recognised by them for the last 8 years for the work that I've done through their various partner ambassador and luminary programs. And one of my claims to fame is that I actually built one of the charts that's in Qlik, and it started as a third-party chart that was imported in and is now part of core product, so that's something that I'm pretty proud of. On the side, I do lots of other things as well. I run podcasts, obviously not as popular as Tech Field Day, but getting there, called The Data Mix, which is an agnostic podcast that just talks about everything to do with data. So pretty excited to keep doing that. Lots of episodes and lots of presenting done with that there as well. And I've got a bit of a following on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., X. Get it all wrong. So why is Qlik and WhatsApp important? So I just want to give the context a little bit. WhatsApp for Qlik. So obviously being a Qlik professional, I've latched onto that as my system for automation, for BI, for analytics. And maybe you can see in there WhatsApp for Qlik, our sort of moniker, and answers and actions using WhatsApp instantly. So it's this idea of being able to have a conversation with your data is really, really important, right? And we live in a RAG and LLM world, so we need to be able to interact with everything. So that includes dashboards and structured data. So all the things that we've talked about today about being able to pull data out of your databases and your SQL databases and do all of those data sources. But also to be able to ask questions about all the unstructured data that you have in your systems, like your PDFs and your Word documents and your PowerPoints, and be able to pull all of that together and do it in a mobile way. And that's the sort of theory behind WhatsApp for Qlik, and generally speaking, being able to interact with WhatsApp as a conversational tool. So that I know the next question you may be asking is why WhatsApp specifically? Well, there's a big, big reason for that. WhatsApp, you pay attention when a WhatsApp pings up on your phone, right? So everyone has Teams and Slack and all these kind of tools on here, but generally speaking, they're corporate installed tools, right? You have to have them on your phone to be able to track your corporate things that you're doing. Whereas quite a lot of people have WhatsApp installed on their phone for, personal purposes, that kind of thing as well. And the blue ticks factor as well, you can't underestimate it. Who here in the room notices their single grey tick, knows that no one's read their message, and then you get 2 grey ticks. Why have they not read my message? And then the blue ticks, I know something is happening moving forwards as well. So that can have up to a 12x impact on even getting a text message. So again, no indication of that when you get an SMS. And how many people just swipe right when they get a Teams message on their phone or a Slack, or they close it down altogether. So what we generally find is WhatsApp does something with that, and it really does increase the the availability of that as well. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the architecture of how all this happens. So really what we want to do is work with between the BI tool and WhatsApp directly with the WhatsApp APIs, and just remove as many conduit points as possible there for like a data protection perspective, from a PII perspective. You don't want any of that data traveling any more through the ecosystem than you want to, right? So where possible, we always try and work directly with WhatsApp in terms of the WhatsApp APIs. And how does all of that flow happen? So you've got two points, 2 endpoints, right? You've got Qlik at one end, which holds and serves all the data out, and you've got WhatsApp at the other end, right? And you need to have something in the middle that's able to send those protocols backwards and forwards and interact with those APIs. And that's the thing that I've been working on probably for the last 18 months, is making all of that connectivity happen. And the reason that it's kind of tricky for WhatsApp is because, as you probably know, WhatsApp are not a company on their own. They're part of Meta, they're part of Facebook. So that means you cannot just send unsolicited WhatsApp messages from me to you across the table from a business account. That's just not allowed. It needs to be triggered in some way. Templates need to be sent and set up. It all needs to be authorized and go through the WhatsApp and Meta ecosystem. So for BI vendors, that's tough because it's kind of not easy to just, you really want to have that sort of data connector type of methodology where you just put in a username or a password, or you send some OAuth authentication and it all just goes. That's kind of difficult with WhatsApp because of all of the external triggers that you need to make that happen. So again, this is something that I've been working on for quite a while now to make all this a thing. And all of that communication and all of that stuff happening where the messages get sent back across and you effectively setting up a chatbot, it's no use if you can't trace it, right? So I'm a big proponent of eating your own dog food when it comes to technology. So if you're going to be pulling data from a tool like Qlik or Power BI or Tableau or whatever it is that you're using, you better be able to show that data, right, in your tool of choice to start with. Because adoption is nothing without being able to use your own stuff, right? So we also have set up all of that in the background with Qlik, so it's hooked into the WhatsApp APIs. So when messages go backwards and forwards, we know who's sending them, what's in the message, which part of the database they're accessing, so you can start to have that feedback and ecosystem into the loop as well. So I am going to go into scary territory here, and I'm going to attempt 2 live demos with you, right? Talking about 2 different types of data coming from Qlik to WhatsApp. Now, the first one is direct data interaction with the Qlik dashboard, so pulling data right out of there. So I'm going to jump right out of there, right out of this presentation and into the demo from here, assuming I can get the screen to jump out. Okay, so hopefully you can still see my screen here. So for the purposes of presenting here, you can now see my web WhatsApp, and if I've skillfully done it, hopefully that you can't see any of my other messages apart from the very well-timed Qlik Connect social ambassador group that I'm part of as well. So what I've brought up here is my web WhatsApp so that I can instigate a conversation with my Qlik dashboard, right? And the way that I do this, I can do it lots of ways. I can have the data pushed out directly from Qlik, or I can trigger it with a keyword, which is the way that I'm going to go today. So this is where it all goes perfectly, and I put in my keyword Qlik, and okay, this is a good start, right? So what I've done is I've just triggered off my chatbot, which is now connected to my Qlik APIs and my Qlik dashboard, and it's pulled out a list of customers from a well-known dashboard that I've got in that I'll show you a little bit later on. So I'm going to pick a customer out of my list. Would anyone like to choose a customer, just to show that I'm not pulling the wool over your eyes here? Anyone just shout out. EDP. So I type in EDP. What that's going to do is it's going to go away, and it's going to take about 30 seconds to come back, and this is the perfect amount of time just for me to tell you what's going on. So that's going back away to the automation APIs in Qlik, and it's going to build a PDF report based on the selection that you've made of that customer. So the data you're going to get back is specific to that customer, and that's doing that dynamically and generating it on the fly. It's also going to send back a chart image from Qlik so that you can start to work with your analytics in Qlik specifically as well. And you can see all of this is just starting to peel back now. And you can see here, hopefully you can see here that I've got a PDF that's downloaded. So if I double click down here, and I open my PDF, and I move on my screen around a little bit. So if I zoom in there, hopefully you can see that there's bottom right-hand corner, there's EDP, right? So it's just gone and generated a PDF for that specific selection that you've made in your data. So I appreciate that I'm doing this with web WhatsApp on the screen here, but you can kind of imagine the power of having the phone in your hands, and you don't need a Qlik ecosystem or a BI ecosystem to make this happen. So we've also got a chart that's been sent back as well, which is one of the charts in the dashboard that again has been dynamically reduced for the data that's in there as well. So that's all pretty cool stuff. But the real power is the conversation, right? So being able to ask more questions and being able to find out more. So all of this is configured so that when the data gets pushed from Qlik, it's stored locally in WhatsApp. So you're not going back to Qlik every time and getting the data. It's just making the call, reloading the data, and then it's pushing it back. So if I want to look at my, my last year's sales, this isn't going to Qlik. It's going to WhatsApp because it's been cached in there from there moving forward as well. So we could go around this loop a few times, but for the purposes of moving through to demo 2, I'm going to say no here. And you already saw that the chart was the chart was shown there. So I'm going to show that again. I should ping up the chart here. There it is. So again, it's just a different way to interact with your data rather than being in the dashboard and having to be logged into your BI system as you move along. Okay. No, I don't want to reload it right now. And hopefully this should bring us to the end of this flow here with a nice little logo for me at the back end, which is important, right? So that is use case number 1, right? And that is for structured data. But what we've been talking about today has been unstructured data, and this is where it gets really, really interesting because Qlik recently released their own RAG-generated LLM, which is Qlik Answers. And yeah, we can interact with that too. So this time, we've got a slightly different scenario where I've uploaded a knowledge base about some printers to find out how printers work so that I can start to ask questions of that from that unstructured data rather than just saying, hey, can you tell me what's in this chart? So let's see if we can make this happen as well. So I'm going to trigger off this time with a different keyword, which is printers. Okay. And now I'm in a different flow, right? So by using a different trigger point, I'm in a different flow. So this is now interacting with Qlik's RAG LLM Qlik Answers. And it's saying, here's your printer assistant, here's your starter questions. So I can get a list of the starter questions that are attached to that LLM to get me going. If I don't know what questions to ask, I can ask it through the LLM. So like, how do I solve a paper jam? And what lights show on my printer and how do I solve that? So I've taken a real life scenario. My paper is stuck in my printer. I can maybe select option number 1 there. And again, it'll take a few seconds because it's going away to access the API and it's going away to ask the question with the LLM, and it'll come back with a natural language answer any second now, he says, fingers crossed. But again, if you think about the applications of something like this, so hopefully you can see there, it repeats the question back to you and gives you a pretty detailed answer of how you clear your paper jam for your printer. So you think about this kind of use case if you're an engineer that's on site, right? And you have to deal with 28 different types of printer and you need specific instructions for a specific printer. Customer standing there looking over your shoulder. You don't really have time to get your laptop out and log into your LLM and get the answers that way. Instead, you can just ask a question in WhatsApp to be able to do that. So I can also just ask any question. So how do I print? Yeah, so I can just put that straight language question in, and again, it'll go away and tell me, and hopefully it'll bring me back some instructions to be able to print as well. It's pretty powerful to be able to generate that on the fly very quickly as you're moving around, and maybe without your customers even knowing that you're doing it. So I think that's a couple of things that I just wanted to show there in terms of different ways that you can interact with business intelligence tools, with stuff like WhatsApp and different conversational mechanisms. And I think this is the way the world is going because everyone wants their answers now, right? They want them instantly. They don't want to wait for you to get your laptop out and log into a system and go through your OAuth and then find your agent. They just want you to be able to see it. So I think there's a gap here, and I think conversational analytics is going to be a massive thing in the future. So look, I really appreciate the time here. I know I've probably gone over a bit already, so thanks very much, Stephen, and thanks very much for everyone watching. If you've got any questions, just let me know. Thank you very much.